and specifically Marathon's development, which is not going well. Recently, it's come out in this last week that Bungie was caught plagiarizing an artist. Her name is 𝙬𝙺𝙎. She posted art in 2017, and it had like some logos and it's just kind of like a general. It wasn't like specifically of anything necessarily. It's just like some logos and some words and maybe some graphics and stuff like that. But anyway, Bungie, in their recent marathon alpha, people discovered, or at least 𝙬𝙺𝙎 discovered, that some of the assets from her art are in the game. Surprise to her. So this is not the first time that Bungie has been accused of this. So there was stolen art that was also found in a Witch Queen trailer. Somebody had done some concept art, and then in the trailer and some background, there's some pictures or something like that. And some of those were taken from fan art. In a cutscene in Lightfall, a similar thing happened. Some of the original concept art seemed to be traced from other artists, so they kind of traced over it, maybe changed a few things, but if you overlaid them, you could see that they actually matched up quite closely. They did something with Nerf where they created a gun, the Ace of Spades, and if you look at the Ace of Spades in game, and you look at the Ace of Spades Nerf gun, they're not exactly the same. However, somebody had created a kind of their version of the Ace of Spades, and if you looked at their concept art and you looked at the Nerf gun, they are actually still fairly different, but there were some similarities. For instance, like scratch marks, like where certain scratch marks ended up and stuff like that. So they were claiming that there was some plagiarism there, and Bungie actually ended up settling with them somehow. So it seems that they kind of admitted like, oh yeah, maybe we did a little bit. There's also accusations of plagiarism in their Red War storyline. However, I think that is still in court. So that one has not been ruled upon yet. There are multiple cases where it seems that Bungie is just ripping ideas from artists. So Bungie's response, a lot of people were kind of unhappy with this as well. So the response said, "We immediately investigated a concern regarding unauthorized use of artist decals in Marathon and confirmed that a former Bungie employee included these in a texture sheet that was ultimately used in-game. This issue was unknown by our existing art team, and we are still reviewing how this oversight occurred. We take matters like this very seriously. We have reached out to 𝙬𝙺𝙎 to discuss this issue and are committed to do right by the artist. As a matter of policy, we do not use the work of artists without their permission. To prevent similar issues in the future, we are conducting a thorough review of our in-game assets, specifically those done by the former Bungie artist, and implementing stricter checks to document all artist contributions. We value the creativity and dedication of all artists who contribute to our games, and we are committed to doing right by them. Thank you for bringing this to our attention." So basically they said, oh yeah, that's there. Thanks for telling us. But actually, it's not somebody who works here anymore. It's somebody that left already. So, can't blame us. So a lot of people were very unhappy with that response. They felt like you're just shifting the buck, right? You're passing the buck. You're scapegoating this, like, oh, this former employee, they created these texture sheets. Maybe they were supposed to be in the game. Maybe they were just using them for their own self-reference. We don't know, but for whatever reason, they had them. They left. We went, and then we took the art that they had, and we put it in the game, and we didn't know where it came from. We just thought that they had made it. So, we're innocent in this. We're sorry. It was our mistake, but, we weren't intentionally doing it. So, so it's messy. And given the fact that this is not the first time, it makes it that much more suspicious. But to make the plot even thicker, I should just say the plot thickens, the lead artist of Marathon actually follows 𝙬𝙺𝙎 on social media. So they're like, wait, you are very familiar with this person's art. You're the lead artist on this thing. You follow the person who was copied. That's a really weird coincidence. And even if what you say is true, you should be familiar with this person's art. You should be able to identify some of it at least, right? So how involved are you, actually? It does look like something I've seen people commenting on online is that when they came out and they did this press conference thing, we're seeing development leads coming out. We're seeing like the team heads, but we're not seeing any higher level Bungie people coming out and talking about this. We're not seeing the CEO. We're not seeing, these higher level directors. It's all kind of these mid-level people talking about it. So it's kind of like, where's the leadership here? You know, how involved are these guys? How much are people coming in and saying like, hey, do this, and then walking away, and then not over, with zero oversight? And this is actually something that has come up. I guess it was Paul Tassi who did a Forbes article. He had talked to people at Bungie, and they were saying that leadership has been negligent. They said it's kind of an old boys club kind of thing. They said that multiple times the devs have warned leadership that, they're saying like this part of the game is not going to work. This part of the game is, is wrong. And they said we need a PvE component. That's what fans of our games play. We need that. And but then the game director was quoted as saying, he went online and he said, I think if you are only looking for PvE experiences, definitely Marathon is not the game for you. We are very comfortable saying, yeah, this isn't a game for everyone. This is a game for, if you like PvP experiences, especially in sandbox spaces, then this is probably something you're going to enjoy. So it looks like, the higher ups, basically somebody had the idea of, hey, this is the game that I want to make. This is a game that I would want to play. And so make this game, basically for me. And then the developers were like, okay, but that's what you want. But the general audience is not going to receive this very well. This is not going to work. You think it's going to work, but it's not actually going to work. But then the higher ups were like, nope, this is the vision. This is what you need to do. And honestly, that reminds me a lot of 𝙎𝙪𝙥𝙦 and a lot of what people were saying about that one, where, it seems like somebody higher up was like, this game is going to be an extraction shooter. It's going to be PvP, and there's going to be some PvE, but the focus is going to be on PvE, so it needs to be balanced for that. And when a lot of people played it, a lot of people were like, this game would be so much better if it had a PvE mode. If you had the PvE, we would love this game if we could just do PvE and not have to worry about, people just ganking us out of nowhere with high-level gear and stealing all our stuff. But, 𝙎𝙪𝙥𝙦 seems to be doubling down, and they're like, no, this is what the game is supposed to be. If you don't like it, don't play it, because it's not a game for you. In another article, or maybe the same article, I'm not quite sure. There's been a few by Paul Tassi, but employees at Bungie had been described as morale being in a free fall across all departments as a result of this. People are just saying like, why are we even here anymore? Why are we even working on this game? This isn't working. And personally, I think that was evident in the live stream they did where they kind of addressed this issue. First of all, they at the very beginning, they kind of addressed the art issue. And then they moved on, and they basically ignored it for the rest of the live stream, despite chat the whole time asking more questions. They just kind of ignored that and just kind of went on with what they were going to be doing. And also, watching the live stream, there were video and audio synchronization issues, where the person's mouth would not match what they were saying with what they were saying, and then the audio would come in maybe 2 seconds later. There were multiple cases of where the audio input would have weird delays. Like it would be like I would be talking on my microphone and the guy next to me, his microphone was on, but for some reason, you would hear my voice loud and then you would hear my voice again in his microphone maybe like 2 seconds later. So there was this weird echo effect. The volume was inconsistent, very unprofessional. So it just seems like, it seems like people just don't care anymore. It's kind of sad. But yeah, and as a result, Bungie is now completely rethinking their marketing strategy. So they're saying, we were going to do an open beta, but now it might just become a roadmap of public playtests. So, the game maybe might get delayed, and we might just be doing these open playtests, public playtests, rather than, kind of a beta and then a release. So, it's not looking good. It's not looking good.